Oh, hey there. Come on in. We're just about to start. Welcome to My Wife the Dietitian, a fun weekly podcast about nutrition and healthy lifestyle. I'm Rob, and together with my wife Sandra, we invite you to join us on this informative and entertaining journey through the complex world of healthy eating.
Join us each week as we strive to help you with transforming your overall health and relationship with food through up-to-date, evidence-based nutrition information. Today we are talking about gout, an inflammatory condition of kings that has been around through the ages but continues to escalate with the obesity epidemic. Gout, like other arthritis conditions, has dietary and lifestyle causes. Join us today as we're going to discuss strategies to help prevent gout flare-ups. Episode 61, Gout, the Disease of Kings and the King of Diseases, is one of the titles I saw in a blog. It was so hit the nail on the head.
Gout. Isn't that what you put in your tiles?
Well, I think it might feel like that for people that experience it in their joints.
Really?
That's gout, I think.
Oh, gout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gout. I know all about gout.
Do you?
Yeah, no. I know nothing. I wouldn't even know where to start explaining what it is. I know zero about gout.
Oh, well, we're going to cover a lot today.
Nothing. Other than it's a really weird word. It reminds me, it's like bile. It's like one of those words that just, like you get a picture in your head when someone says the word gout and it's not a pretty picture.
No, I think of like all those like old movies, you know, a period piece of kings with their...
You mean the movies that you're like, Rob, I got a really good movie for us to watch tonight. And it starts and I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. And like ladies in these big flowing dresses and guys with big beards, and it's just not my thing.
Guys with big beards and their feet propped up on the cushions and they're all like...
And big bellies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's like King Henry VIII cut off the heads of all of his wives, or most of his wives, because they didn't produce the male heir or the male offspring. And it was actually his fault because he didn't donate the Y chromosome. But maybe it was karma because he had gout, and it's an excruciating, painful, like feels like shards of glass in the joints in his feet and joints. So maybe that was karma.
Karma. Yeah, there you go. Take that.
The gluttony of the lifestyle, it's the opulence of wealth, and it's been referred to the rich man's disease. But it's actually the incidence is growing, and it's connected with the obesity epidemic in North America and other developed countries.
Crazy.
So today we're going to discuss what it is, how common in the population, why we get gout, dietary culprits, and what is a solution, with 5 key takeaways at the end.
I'm going to be an expert by the time we're finished.
Yes, you will.
A gout expert.
Yeah,
I'll have to get a name tag. Rob, gout expert. The gout master.
Well, you're good at tile setting. You could be a grout master.
No, I'd rather be a gout master.
Okay.
I think it pays better.
You're so funny. So, you know what it is? It is the most common inflammatory arthritis condition in the world.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I need to read more, I think.
It's the most common arthritis condition. Yeah. And it's it's an inflammatory condition.
Is there another name for it? Like,
arthritis.
Is that what people say? The doctor comes in and says, "Oh, Mr. Gentleman, I'm afraid you've got gout."
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. They look at your blood work and you'll have high levels of uric acid in your blood.
Oh, okay.
But we're going to get to that.
Yeah. I'm jumping ahead here.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we start talking about what it is?
Yeah. It feels like you have shards of glass in the joints. So in the knees, the shoulders, the toes, the ankles.
Wow. That's nasty.
It's really painful. Like it's like on fire. You can barely walk. You can barely move. It's just so painful.
And that's a form of arthritis? Is that what gout is? It's a form of arthritis?
Yeah, it's the most common arthritis.
Oh, okay. So there's other types of arthritis that feel a little different?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
definitely. Yeah, exactly. Like rheumatoid or osteoarthritis. So there's different types of arthritis, but gout is the most common, and it is more common in men. And the risk increases with the BMI. As your BMI, your body mass index increases, your risk goes up.
Okay.
And I have, in my past 24 years of clinical dietetics, I've had many, many, many referrals for people with gout and diet to help gout. And
Wow.
I think in the past, it's all been like purines, like low purine diet, just low purine. And it's
What does that mean?
it's a tunnel vision approach.
Puring.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what purines are
Oh, okay.
in our food and how that affects our uric acid levels in the blood.
Question for you.
Yeah.
And this might be one of those that you'd give me that look, but is all forms of arthritis nutrition related?
Oh, they haven't. That's a good question.
Okay, thanks. They're all good questions. Just some of them you give me that look where like, that's a book in order to answer it.
Well, yeah. I mean, every arthritis has different...
like it's caused from a nutritional deficiency or doing something wrong with your diet? There's
correlations.
Okay.
And there's different correlations with different types of arthritis. And we know with gout, it's a lifestyle disease, and it is so common. And the prevalence, as I mentioned, is in the developed countries like US, Australia, UK, Canada. There's 9 million Americans, or 4% of the population, have gout.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. And there is a link with different comorbidities. So hypertension, these are the lifestyle diseases, which go along with people that have these might have a more increased incidence of developing gout or having gout. So that would be hypertension or high BMI, like over 30. So like a overweight to obese status,
right?
Cardiovascular disease, hyperlipidemia, which is high blood levels of cholesterol, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, chronic kidney disease, and too much alcohol can be another risk factor. And so all of these kind of go along in that it is a lifestyle disease, and diet plays a huge role in that.
For sure.
But there are some, there is a genetic component, age, ethnicity, and as I said, gender, like more
men, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
More common in men, but women have it too.
All right. Are we going to move on to why it happens now?
Yeah.
So that's you said uric acid, a buildup of uric acid. Is that, and you're going to explain why that happens?
Yeah. So let's think of back at King Henry VIII, or, all the kings, or the gluttonous lifestyle and opulence of wealth and
feasting, I think, was the common term back then.
Feasting.
They feasted a lot.
Right. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. And because it's like the rich man's disease, and they have money, and so they have whatever food they want, and they end up, it's a diet rich in, what do you think?
Well, not processed foods, because they didn't have that back then, but lots of meat, probably, alcohol. I'm
going to stop you there, though.
Okay.
Because, processed foods are definitely a culprit.
Really? Oh, but not back in the day they weren't, but they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Definitely like meat, kind of rich foods, like lots of sauces and, high fat, a high percentage of animal protein, animal fats, cholesterol. That was kind of it
was like the staple at every meal.
For people that had wealth.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So you asked why. So the uric acid is a normal waste product in our body, and it's formed when compounds called the purines we eat purines in our diet, and they break down, and then there's an excess load of uric acid as a result of the purines breaking down.
Okay.
And the purines, so, there's the gout handout, high purine foods. And I mentioned a lot of them about the meat and animal proteins. So seafood is another one. Beer is a big one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So alcohol in general, but beer in particular. Fried food is a big one. And most people have an idea of what foods are triggers for them. So these are kind of in common, a guideline of foods that have high purines, but really there's very individual, like some people have juice and that triggers a flare up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just from juice, yeah.
And once you've had an attack or a gout flare up, you're more likely to have another one. It's kind of like kidney stones. You've had it once, you're probably going to get it again if things don't change with your lifestyle.
Oh, really? The door's open now, kind of, and it just keeps coming back.
Yeah. And it's, there's medication to help, but it's really because it's got this lifestyle root cause. It's not just the purines. It's not just, okay, I'm just going to remove, meat and seafood and beer out of my diet, and then I won't have any more gout flare-ups. It's actually because it's more like lifestyle related, and there's links with diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and other lifestyle like chronic diseases. It's not just the purines.
It's the food plus everything else you're doing. So fixing just the food or one of the other elements in your lifestyle isn't enough. You got to kind of tackle all the issues. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think it's a red flag for, okay, I have gout or I've had a gout attack. There's, remember the anti-inflammatory diet, the episode 19? It's very linked with this episode.
Okay.
Because it's...
it sounds really familiar. I was thinking it's kind of a lot like that.
Yeah, and we're finding more and more that the root cause of a lot of chronic diseases and conditions is inflammation in the body. And our diet and lifestyle can be like pro-inflammatory and actually increase the risk of inflammation and different diseases and conditions.
Including gout.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And like keto diet, for instance, because what do you think of when you think of someone on a keto diet? What are they eating?
Lots of fat, lots of meat.
Yeah, it can definitely increase the risk of flare-ups too. So what is the solution for, I forgot to mention, there is a connection with gut. They're finding another condition that's related to gut health is the gout. The bacteria in urate, which is the uric acid in the blood, plays a role in the progression or the onset of gout. So there is this, gut link again with inflammation and if we develop gout.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's just another, we know so much, that so many conditions are linked with our gut health and having a healthy gut. And part of the inflammatory process can be linked back to gut health.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So what is the solution?
Well, yeah, I guess there's an obvious solution is to cut back on the things, but is there more to it than that?
Yeah, actually, most of our key takeaways that we're going to cover in a bit are actually things to start doing instead of like taking away. It's like more about like changing your habits and adding things. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But so looking back, we've talked about the Mediterranean diet or lifestyle or DASH diet. And that was in episode 14, the MIND diet to help prevent dementia. And it's like an anti-inflammatory type diet.
Right.
So it's more about having more whole, minimally processed foods in our diet and aiming for certain amounts of vegetables and fruits and whole grains in a day or in a week. And we can talk about that if you want to go over the details.
Sure. It helps with my Grout Master certification. No, Gout Master.
You're funny.
See, I'm still confused.
Gout, yes. Well, I like Michael Pollan's quote about, eat real food, not too much, mostly plants, and food that your, I'm going to say, great grandmother would recognize. So even though, it's the king of diseases and the disease of kings, there's a lot of correlation now with ultra processed foods.
It's just part of our culture to eat quick, which means you need to like crack something out of a package and jam it in your mouth instead of taking the time like your grandmother would to cook a meal from scratch using, natural ingredients and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's simple ingredients and whole minimally processed foods, and just the like simple sugars too. That's a culprit, because there is this connection with our metabolic health and the connection with diabetes and gout. So the sugary foods and ultra processed foods that have a lot of added sugars are part of that equation. And we need to be checking labels and knowing what we're eating and drinking. Because just if you think of Starbucks, if you go and have a venti latte, it's got 61 grams of sugar.
Wow.
And really the guidelines for simple sugar intake is about 9 teaspoons for a man, which is 45 grams of sugar, and 6 teaspoons for a woman, which is 30 grams of sugar. And the venti I said was 68 grams. So that's, double of what a woman, added sugar of what a woman should be taking a day.
For the whole day.
For the whole day.
In one cup.
In one beverage.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's not even considering all the other foods that we might be eating. And
yeah, just being mindful. Since we've started this podcast, I was pretty knowledgeable about health and diet, but I've noticed a change in myself. Even when I go shopping, I'm reading labels. I know what to look for. I'm choosing certain products over others. I kind of know the marketing tricks now, and I'm like, oh no, I know what you guys are trying to sell me with that. I'm not going to fall for it. I'm gonna get this other product that I know is good for me, and reading the serving size and all those things that we learned through the podcast. So it's definitely changing, and it's just things. If you keep practicing it, yeah, it'll kick in over time. It is pretty complex, learning how to be healthy and how to eat and learning all this stuff we're learning on this show, but it does change if you keep doing it. So
that's great. I love to hear that.
Yeah, I thought you might like that.
Well, yeah, I have noticed a lot of the food that you're buying is it's just...
Well, and just changing the way I eat too. Some of the things I snack on and just some of the food choices I've made, whether bringing them home or what I choose to eat at home, I've noticed a change. So and you're not putting anything in your coffee in the morning, which is just like blowing my mind, because I can't drink totally black coffee. I know.
Okay, so when we talk about the DASH diet or the Mediterranean diet, we're talking about whole minimally processed foods and getting the junk out. So looking at trying to include 2 servings of fruit a day, 3 servings of vegetables a day, 3 servings of whole grains a day. And with this, I really want to stress portions, because whole grains you can end up piling a ton of rice or a ton of pasta or having lots of bread over the day, and you're going to be accumulating way more than 3 whole grains a day.
Yeah. So in your rice bowl, fill it with veggies and put the rice on top.
Yeah.
Instead of filling it with rice and putting a bit of veggies on top.
That's a really good strategy. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you think about that in a restaurant too. They give you a pasta plate and it's loaded with like a bucket of noodles, and then there's a little bit of sauce, which has all the stuff in it. That's, your meat or your veggies or whatever is all in the sauce. But it's like, well, I don't want a ton of noodles. I want more sauce. Mm-hmm. What if you can order it without the noodles?
I'm sure the gluten-free,
it's like you go into a bar and you order the margarita without the ice in it. And then they feel like, oh, I got to fill it to the top, I guess. So maybe it's the same. worth a try.
Yeah. All right. So 4 servings of nuts per week.
Per week. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's just, this is a guideline in terms of trying to change the ratio of different types of food in your diet.
These are minimums.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, the 3 servings of whole grains a day, just, watch the portions, as I mentioned.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Oh, yeah. No, I don't mean, yeah. I just eat a lot of nuts. That's why I was like, man, I eat 4 servings of nuts in a day.
Right. 2 servings of fish a week. So I think this gets some people, because they're like, well, purines, I can't have seafood. I can't eat fish. But remember, there's really important nutrients in fish.
And you're looking at me like you want me to name them?
Well, the one that I'm thinking of.
Omega-3?
Yeah.
Omega-3 fats?
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's actually an anti-inflammatory food. And so it is important to include a little bit of that over the week. And it can be a variety of different fish or seafood. But it's the whole diet, not just elements that you take out.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to change everything.
Yeah, well, not change everything because that's almost impossible for a lot of people to do. But just watching, like trying to, increase the amount of vegetables and fruits and reduce the animal foods, the high cholesterol foods, the rich foods.
Yeah, that's true.
So there are some gout superfoods that they've shown that there's particular foods that could be helpful because of the elements in the food. So whole cherries is one, like the red. I think there's a relationship with the red phytochemical in cherries, the antioxidants, and it helps to feed the certain bacteria in the gut. And it's a phytochemical or phytoplant chemical that is really important to help with gut and gout. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an anti-gout phytochemical.
Yeah. So it's not saying like you have to eat a ton of cherries because especially cherry juice is pretty high in sugar. And that's one of the issues with like too many simple sugars. So the whole cherries is probably a better way to get those red phytochemicals. The green tea and coffee also have those antioxidants which support the uric acid metabolism. So having the green tea without a lot of sweeteners and sugars, and the same with coffee, those will be helpful for gout.
And it reduces the formation of the uric acid crystals?
Yeah, it supports the uric acid metabolism.
Cool.
So
okay.
Yeah. And then the low-fat dairy, so basically probiotics, so kefir, plain yogurt, any foods that offer the gut health, like the probiotics, can be helpful for gout.
Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
For people who have gout.
Yeah. And vitamin C rich foods. So vitamin C is very supportive too for helping reduce gout or helping prevent gout. And so the citrus foods, or what are some other vitamin C rich foods?
Vitamin C. Well, you were saying tomatoes one time. Tomatoes, all the citrus fruits, vegetables.
Yeah, green leafy vegetables.
Yeah, I was going to say spinach has it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And green peppers.
Oh, right. Peppers, for sure.
Yeah, so there's, those types of foods will help. They're rich in vitamin C and they can help with preventing gout. So the key takeaway for those at risk is number one, improve metabolic health. So this will help your insulin sensitivity. It will reduce your risk of diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and gout.
What do you mean by metabolic health?
Just meaning that you're watching how much sugar you're taking in, because the simple sugars can give you like spikes in your blood sugar and insulin levels. So that can affect your risk of developing diabetes. And then that can be also a factor in how your body's metabolizing food and your fat stores and all of that.
Okay.
And how to do that would be increase your resistance training. So exercise is number 2. So key takeaways for those at risk: improve metabolic health. Number 2, exercise. So resistance training, or basically increasing your fitness level. So that will help your metabolic health. So increasing your fitness level would mean helping to improve your lean muscle and reducing the adipose tissue or fatty tissue.
Okay.
So other than resistance training, what's another way to
exercise?
Yeah.
Well, you got all your cardio stuff.
Exactly.
Like walking, running, hiking, swimming, biking, walking your neighbor's dog, walking your own dog.
Right.
Anything that gets your body moving for, a good chunk of time. They say 45 minutes, but that doesn't mean you can't go for an hour, or even half an hour is better than nothing. So
10 minutes. Start with 10 minutes 3 times a day would be great. Just like getting up more often out of the chair and walking just for 10 minutes. And then, just doing that often through the day kind of helps wake up your your metabolism. Like, it's like, oh, because I think when you're sitting a long time, your body thinks you're sleeping, and then your metabolic rate kind of slows down and you're not burning calories, and you're just, it's good
stagnant.
It's good to stand up, move around, do something different, but also get your heart rate up a little bit to get the blood pumping.
Exactly.
So number 3 is hydrate.
Yeah, drink your water.
Yes.
Or your proper fluids. Doesn't mean beer. It's healthy fluids.
Yeah.
Ideally water.
Well, the fluids that can actually trigger flare-ups are juice, beer. Those, remember we talked about the Starbucks, like the sugary drinks. Ultra processed, like sugary, sweetened beverages. And a good rule of thumb with how much water to take would be, I heard this somewhere and I love it. It's basically your weight in pounds divided by 2. So let's say 180 pounds divided by 2 is 90, and that in ounces. So your weight in pounds divided by 2, and that number is in ounces, is the amount of fluids you need.
Wow, that's like 11 cups of water for me.
Yeah, over the day.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't actually know. I drink a lot, but I'm not really counting, so I should count one time and see.
Yeah.
Just, I'd be curious.
It's amazing how water can really help your body and can prevent kidney stones, can prevent gout flare-ups, can prevent gallstones. Like, it's so important for our health just to be hydrated and have enough fluid.
Yeah, it's the cure-all for so many symptoms. It's like drink water, exercise,
It's easy to forget, and I think a lot of times we go eat something when we're really thirsty, and our body just needs water.
Yeah.
So number 4 for a key takeaway would be add more volume foods, or as I call in my, I do nutrition tours for kids, elementary school kids in the grocery store. And we talk about glow foods. So those vegetables and fruits in the produce section that have lots of phytochemicals, lots of antioxidants, lots of polyphenols, all the colors. They're nutrient dense, like lots of vitamins and minerals and fiber and lots of water. So they're volume. They have lots of volume, but they don't give us a ton of calories.
Oh, okay. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. So try to eat more volume foods. So more vegetables and fruits, because a lot of times most people do not have enough vegetables and fruits in their day, because if you do, then you probably wouldn't be reaching for the other, snacky foods.
Right. And there's some things that are a lot of volume but have no nutrition in them. So you want to avoid those, I would think. You want nutritious, voluminous foods.
So for an example,
well, I'm thinking like a rice cake. I think we talked about them before. They're like a snack, and I don't know how filling they are, I guess, but
I think it serves a purpose.
They're kind of fluffy. And
they do serve a purpose in that they give you that crunch, but they're not like a chip where you're getting a ton of extra fat and sodium and stuff.
True.
But it's about like, okay, it's how much and how often you're eating those, and what are you not eating because you're eating those. Like,
right.
If you're eating that instead of a salad or vegetables and fruits.
Yeah. Not going to cut it.
Yeah. It doesn't give you a lot of nutrition. It's not a great fuel for your body. That's all.
Good to know.
Number 5 is read labels. So basically get the junk out. So try to look for all those words for sugar, the OS, the glucose, fructose, sucrose. Get the sugar out of your diet, because a lot of foods, we're getting a lot of extra sugars.
Hidden in there. Yeah, those words are good to learn.
Yeah.
Something else I learned, because I never really looked, I never knew what those words meant, but there's a lot of words on the ingredient label where like, I don't know what that means, but yeah, all those OS words are all just added sugars.
Yeah, and we talked about it in
the reading the label episode?
Episode 9,
yeah,
Food Labels 101. Yeah.
9, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good episode. I learned a lot from that episode, so it's a good one to listen to.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that as a nutrition nugget in a midweek version. It's just you
could do a little quiz, see how smart I actually am.
That's right. Yeah. Or knowledgeable about the topic anyways.
Yeah. There you go.
Great. Well, that's, that kind of covers the gout. Do you have any questions?
I think I'm good for now. I think I've got a pretty good understanding of it now, and I'll understand when someone says that word, what it means, and won't start looking at their tiles thinking they're talking about that.
That's right. And yeah, if you ever watch one of those movies with the kings and queens in it and see the king propped up with his foot up, he's probably dealing with gout.
It's probably why they're getting their feet massaged all the time and fed grapes and cherries. Probably cherries they should have been eating, right? That would have helped with the gout. Anyways, there you go. That's all about gout. That's today's episode. And if you have any questions about gout, you guys can ask questions too. It's not just us. You're welcome to email us your questions or comments on our Facebook or wherever we're posting on social media. Feel free to start a little chat if you want to talk. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube under My Wife the Dietitian. We've got our website at mywifethedietitian.com, and our email address is mywifetherd@gmail.com. Like I said, we always like to hear from you, so fire away. And we'll be back Wednesday with another episode of Nutrition Nuggets, so tune in for that. And then again, next Monday, we'll be back with another full episode of, what do we do? We've got, I don't know what we're doing next Monday, but we'll have something fun for you. So have a good week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review, and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.